and we're talking about how you can increase retention through data-driven product development. Over to you, Darren.
Cool, thanks a lot. So good morning, everybody. Nice to be here virtually. So firstly, hi, I'm Darren Last. I'm a consultant, if you want to call it that. I've spent 20 years working in digital across web delivery, mobile, social, doing marketing, strategy, product development. I've worked in IT, data analytics, a bit of here and everything. Some might say a jack of all trades, maybe master of none potentially. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to tell you a story here today, and it's around sort of customer centricity. And what we've done recently at Shell, we've increased retention considerably from sort of 10% to sort of 66% as it stands, and it's mainly through sort of data-driven product development. So you know, you've probably heard a billion stories on how this might be done or could be done or should be done, and quite possibly, you know, but I'm going to tell you the story of Shell and the Shell app that I've been working and supporting on over these years, and how we've really sort of taken such a huge leap. So hopefully you'll find it interesting. Like I say, it is a story. The challenges have been there along the road. So first of all, I'll tell you a bit about the Shell app. So it's a global app. We manage this globally, and we localize this in 34 countries. We have one global app localized in 34 countries. On top of that, we have an app separate for the Americas, and that's US and Canada. And then we have another app that is separate for China, obviously due to the complexities there. That's built in China and managed there. The app is available in sort of 20 countries, 20 languages, and the platforms are on iOS, Apple, and Android, Google Play. The audience for the app is predominantly B2C, so your everyday users visiting the Shell sites. But there's an element of B2B with payments and that kind of thing. So that's the Shell app, the overall picture. As I say, as a team, we manage this globally, and then we work with all our countries to sort of roll it out and work with all the different nuances. One of the challenges is that in every country, they do have different sort of features, different programs, etc., and certainly different sort of technologies and complexities when it comes to site systems. So it's quite challenging managing something on this scale, which is why I'll move into the story of the Shell app. So firstly, the Shell app was born and first launched in 2010. Amazing to think that's 10 years ago. I was actually part of the delivery of that. And first and foremost, it was a station locator. Reason we pushed this out, at the time we had a few cowboy apps, if you like, that were ripping off the brand and pretending to be Shell. So we had station locator capability across the websites, which was hugely popular and one of the most popular areas. So we launched this in 2010 on iOS and Android. It was our first step into the app stores in around 10 or 12 countries. An interesting story here is once we actually launched it, we found out that our site data and where our sites were located was actually quite poor. In some cases, we would find a Shell site in the North Sea or in the Pacific Ocean, which told us that our data that where all the Shell sites was wrong. How did we not know this? Well, you know, beforehand, the station locator was web-based. And being web-based, there was no forum for feedback. So as soon as we hit the app stores, and as we know, you know, it's really just another social channel where people can have their comments and put their reviews, we were finding out all these problems with the data. So straight away, we was on the back foot. So we had a big exercise in correcting our site data. So straight away, we realized that, you know, data is critical, and also our customers and getting that feedback. 2012, we sort of started to roll out the core feature with loyalty. So we had loyalty programs in about 15 or 16 of our countries. And it's a sort of program where you fill up at a Shell site, and based on how much it fills, you'll get sort of X number of points. Based on those points, you can then redeem those for money or fuel vouchers, or in some countries it would be sort of catalogs. So we started to release loyalty across these programs with offers, and predominantly mobile offers. Come 2014, we started to implement more features. We had Shell Drive, which was a bit of a testing a drive for efficiency. For those in the UK may recall the Aviva app of a couple of years ago, the adverts with sort of James Corden, and it's all about sort of driving efficiently. So smooth driving, not braking harshly. And what we would do here is we'd give you a score based on your journey from A to B, and then give you tips on how you can improve. The idea was, from a customer point of view, it can sort of start to sort of drive a good mentality with driving behaviours, but also, you know, a degree of fuel efficiency. We also had a My Garage feature, so type in the registration of the car, and you can get back the you know, what lubes and oils would be appropriate. And then you can also set reminders, so when's my tax due, when's the MOT, or you could put anything in there, you know, your wife's birthday or whatnot. 2015 was a real game changer, and one of our core products. So we introduced mobile payments in the app. So what this meant was you could use the app to fill up with fuel, which basically meant you could use the app to pay with. So what you would do, you'd pull up at a pump, you'd have an account, you'd link it with PayPal at this point, later to be Apple Pay and Google Pay. And then you would select your pump number. So you select the pump that you was going to use, and then it would start, the app would start to authenticate with the payments. You'd then be authorized, get out, fill up. Once you've filled up, just get back in your car and you drive off. So, you know, it saved you having to go into the forecourt, avoid the queues, etc. Interestingly enough, in times like, you know, these that we're in with the coronavirus, and socially distancing from people, it's yeah, pretty cool in that you don't actually have to you know, go into a forecourt and hand over any cash. So that was 2015. We was actually one of the first fuels retailers to launch sort of in-app payments, and this was specifically in the UK, later to be rolled out in Germany, US and Canada. But hey, we didn't stop there. We started to add more features. We started to develop the Shell Drive out a little. We hadn't really done a lot with that in the last 2 years because we've been focusing on the payments, but we started to introduce challenges there. So markets would be able to set up competitions that you know, drivers can start to compete, you know, who's driving the furthest miles, who's got the best score in terms of efficiency. We started to implement sort of badges and trophies, which, you know, you may recall was sort of trends in this digital age as years gone by. And 360 videos, interactive videos. We've got a partnership with Ferrari, so we'd be having some sort of insights there, but we didn't really develop enough of them. The badges, you know, you get a badge for reading a news article or doing a payment transaction or taking a drive. But the idea is we develop that a little further. You get rewards, offers based off those badges that didn't quite materialize there. 2017 come around and we started to implement the digital card in some of our loyalty programs. The loyalty programs were predominantly physical cards, so this was adding the digital there, but the mentality was very much still around physical. We had sort of voice of customer programs and whatnot. Essentially what we ended up with was sort of 7 or 8 years worth of features that we'd sort of implemented and taken so far, and, you know, maybe then weren't optimized, and we ended up where we got to 2018 and, you know, we had a whole heap of features in here that, you know, what's the value, what's being used? We weren't really doing a very good job of assessing how things were performing. And, you know, our retention was 10%. You know, this is 10% of users upon first sort of downloading the app, and then 3 months over a 90-day period, 10% of those users are still using it. I mean, this is, you know, it's pretty poor. So we started to think, well, why is this? You know, we all had an inkling of what the problems were. but we needed to sort of dive into the data and analytics to understand it. We knew the app lacked clear purpose. We had low usage. The content was poor. As I say, interactive videos, we had about 2 videos in some of the markets, and they sat there stale for the best part of the year. We had about 20 plus features. So therefore, this creates a disjointed sort of customer experience. And when you add up all these features, they all carry weight, which gives you performance issues, operational issues, and we're carrying a lot of technical debt there. So we took on this in 2018. And then 2019, a year later, we ended up with a brand new shell app. So we obviously redesigned the app and developed a new proposition. And this is what I'll carry on to tell you about. So we obviously went from 10% retention in 90 days with the old app to 66%. And that is a huge jump. When we think industry standard is what, 35%, 40 at a push, and we're sort of pushing on 66 here currently. So how do we do this? So I shall tell you how we did this as a team. So first of all, we needed to identify where the challenges were. So we knew we'd lost the customer focus, and the app, it kind of had a lack of purpose. We had an extreme, there was a lack of tracking and optimizing that was based on how users were actually using the app. We did have, we had a lot of tracking in there, but we weren't utilizing that. We didn't have the right team, people, analysts to be able to dive in there and actually see how the features that we were putting out there over these years was performing to then go and optimize. So we developed all of these features, and we'd never really taken them forward. Like I say, badges, not a bad thing, badges, but what does the customer get out of it? Get a nice, you've read an article, yeah, here's a badge, lovely. What value is that really bringing? There was a roadmap and a plan at the time to start to do that, but it wasn't something that materialized because we're focusing on so many other things. We've become consumed by demand. We're supporting sort of 30 plus markets, and they've all got demands for what they want to get and what features they want to optimize, or new features that they want to bring in. Some of these aren't necessarily based on business value. We had a roadmap because of all of this that was, just huge. You can imagine, we're one central team here that's managing this sort of globally for local, and all this demand. And if you're not putting a lens of value across that, then, and you're also not looking at the centricity of the customer. We had a fragmented strategy and delivery across the whole experience. And I'm talking not just the app. So you've got all the digital channels, web, social, and the customer experience on the forecourt. It was fragmented. So it wasn't necessarily all singing from the same hymn sheet, if you like. You take Shell Drive. We had that as a feature in the app, but you'd never find a whisper about that in another channel or on a forecourt. So we quickly established 3 points. 1, customer centricity. There wasn't enough focus on the end-to-end customer experience through the digital channels and through our shopping experience in the forecourts. Data analytics, definitely was not enough of a focus on data analytics. Customer behavior within the app and outside of that would give us the insights. And structure. Didn't have the right structure between the teams to be able to deliver that customer experience and the data analytics that would break down those operational and data silos. So we started off looking at the data. So how do we move forward? We know we need to change. What do we need to do? So we got in skilled people, data analysts, started to evaluate what was working, what wasn't. Now, some features, like the My Garage, it had low usage, but it wasn't that it wasn't valuable. It was the fact that through the user experience, it was so hidden that people couldn't get to it or find it. So we started to work out that what features were being used, what were actually not too bad, but needed to be developed into a user experience that worked. So we looked at the volume of users across the CVPs, looking at how their repeat engagement with user sessions, understanding the length, and also looked at, are we tagging, have we got the right tagging and tools that enable us to assess this. So that's within the app as they go off through sort of other channels, but also looking at customer feedback as well, within app stores, within our own app, and sort of other areas too. We quickly established features were rarely used. So My Garage, as I say, not necessarily not used because it's a poor feature, but because it's sitting within the wrong user experience. We had a number of features around customer feedback. We had 5 actually, 5 features all asking for feedback. We had the 360 videos, badges, shell drive, all low use features. But clearly we had features that added genuine value. With our loyalty programs, offers, our mobile payments via the app, and obviously Station Locator, bread and butter of where you can find. We also listened to our customers. So we carried out a number of qualitative research on the app, using in-depth interviews to really dive down into how customers were using the app, what they thought of it, and bring out all of the horror stories, if you want. We interviewed 24 Shell customers in a number of countries, 1-hour interviews, and we was watching the interaction that they were doing. I'm sure you've been in some of these groups. You have the users in there, and you sit on your settee behind the window, and you can watch it all unfold. Fascinating how customers actually use it sometimes, and what sometimes people within organisations are completely 2 different things, but a critical source of insight. And the results again, backed up exactly what we knew or thought by the data and our own view. Wasn't clear what the app was for. Customers didn't think if it gave them much value. They were unaware that payments was even a feature. You think of one of the core features and a real asset, that it had just got lost in the clutter. Hence, that was then confusing. And we established 60% of customers didn't see any reason to use Shell more than once a month. So, So we then started to look at, okay, so we need to create a clear purpose and strategy for the app. Simple, right? Okay. So we went about, we need to give the app a clear purpose, and we knew this, where 60% of the users didn't use it more than once a month. We had to cut out all the clutter. We had 20-odd features. User experience was lost. Usability, so to give you an example, the usability of the old app, we had to register for the loyalty scheme and then go on and do the Shell Drive for 31 steps. I mean, it took minutes to actually go through and do. It's just crazy, and was a high point of sort of negative reviews, etc. We needed to develop best-in-class functionality. There were other apps, other organizations that are doing this, and we needed to innovate. So we needed to make use of how we can use other platforms and services that make things like payments accessible for other channels. And what we ended up with was a brand new strategy. We wanted to deliver a mobile experience, retail experience, on the go, with loyalty and payments at its core. And this was around sort of smart navigation. So via Station Locator, you can find our Shell stations. You can find the services and amenities that it delivers. You've got fast payments, so you can use payments via the app. It avoids you having to go into the store and queues. So if you want to get in and out quickly, it's perfect. And a new loyalty program with personalized rewards. So obviously in the UK, we had an old program around a physical card. We went through with a new loyalty program, Go Plus it's called, and it was around visits based. So the more you visited, the more you would get rewarded. And these rewards were based on few rewards for 10 visits. We'd give you surprise and delight offers. So personalized rewards as per your spend behavior. So all in all, helping customers find the right station, pay quickly, and feel rewarded. We also had a lot of complexities that we needed to manage. So as I say, you know, we're a global team. We've got untold complexity. We're supporting many, many markets with you know, different systems in terms of site systems. So we had our core features, loyalty payments, with our profile management CRM system underlining that. We have various tool sets that enable us to track and operate and engage. Tools we use here, Adobe Analytics, sort of attentive to customer feedback and ratings. New relic from an application monitoring performance. Coachava with media tracking. Use Airship that drives our engagement with push and in-app messaging, and app follow in terms of, you know, customer reviews. And then underpinning that is all our different platforms, and just a small selection of them. And then we need to use these tools, and we need to implement them in the right way that enables an operational excellence. So we've got a strategy, and we know our core products are payments and loyalty, but we need the tools to be able to underpin that. We also need to put the tools that we can give to markets so that they can start to utilize them and activate them. So if we think of sort of engagement, sort of with Airship, so great marketing tool, we know sort of push, certainly via the app, it drives a hell of a lot of appetite if you've got the right content. So it's looking at customer behavior. So we'll always be looking at how our customers are actually interacting with the app via the behaviors there. Customer feedback. So what are they actually saying in social channels, in the app stores, but also, you know, being regular with sort of customer insights. So carrying out usability tests. If we've got an idea, then we put it through customer testing. If we want to make an improvement, we put it through customer testing, and then we start to get the confirmation of what's working and what's not. And then on a technical basis, make sure we've got the right monitoring in. So if we're having issues, if we're seeing some performance issues, what are they? Establish what they are so we can then start to fix where the problem is. And all of this falls into a cycle that, you know, is not new or certainly rocket science, which is around analyzing all these tools and the behavior, identifying where your needs for improvement are, and then optimizing it and putting it out, and then just completing that cycle. Another thing that we need to do is bring in the visualization tool. So we've got all of these data points, and, you know, particularly if you're trying to support markets that are trying to look at all these things, how do we give them the key things that they need to know, the key KPIs, the key reporting? So we bring it together in a data visualization tool that we can that people can go to, quick access. We can start to sort of mine the data, the information. We can identify those optimization points. So we went through all of this. Obviously, a lot of tools, a big strategy to implement. We rebuilt the app from the ground upwards, so completely new code, everything. And yeah, we launched the first market here. We obviously had 34 countries to update and migrate over to this new app. So it was a brand new app rather than an update. So how do we see it performing? Well, hence the name of the session here, with driving retention up, is working excellently. In fact, it's quite unbelievable to imagine we're hitting these numbers of retention. We launched in UK in August. Usage increased by 400% since January 2018. We've got 1.5 million active users there on the new app. We've still got users on the old app because we've only, we've managed to get 13 markets across. So we've got 13 markets on the new app and sort of 18 odd on the old app. Our App Store rating on iOS is now 4.7. It was on 4.6. We've always had quite a strong rating there. But Google Play, we saw a massive difference. It was 4.5 now on the new app, and that was 3.5 on the old app. So that's again a huge. And then the retention, excuse me, to go from 10% on the old app to 66 here now is something we're very, very proud of. And we also manage this with a shiny new comms toolkit. So obviously, got a nice new app. We've got a integrated customer experience through the channels and the forecourts, and only a nice marketing mix to help drive that and drive usage and continue to keep and retain our loyalty. So that's the last 10 years. What's 2020 all about? So we need to continue to grow. The important thing is we need to continue to analyze how we perform. So we've got to continue looking at the behaviors, the insights, so we keep that continuous improvement cycle going. And marketing. So obviously got to keep that going, making sure we're growing the product in the markets. Now, as I said at the beginning, we've got 30 odd markets and they all have different features. Not all have loyalty schemes, and certainly not all have payments available for reasons as site infrastructure and governance in markets. So we really need to accelerate how these other markets sort of roll out and get the new loyalty schemes and payments. So this is our focus this year, getting the other markets out onto the new app and ensuring those that don't have the loyalty and payments get those. So that's the story. Hopefully you've not found it too boring, but the key takeaways from here, if you're going to take some of the things away, number one, customer centricity. You've got to ensure the customer is central throughout the entire journey. That's the online digital channels and your retailers, your shops. Always with focus on the customer value, what's important to the customer. Data analytics, it underpins it all. You've got to ensure you've got the right capabilities there to join it up. So it's across the teams, and then you're taking those those insights and continually improving. Structure, you need to have the structure. You need the cross-functional teams that are going to be delivering the journey, the strategy, and achieving and obtaining those insights, so that emphasis is clear on the continuous improvement and the optimization. And that's the story. So hopefully I haven't bored you too much. It's been about 25 minutes, I think. But yeah, the story of the Shell app and how we've progressed in the last year with some considerable numbers.
Great, thanks, Darren. That's a really good story. It's great to see, some success stories like that. We always like it. It's such a hard platform to work on. So many retailers, or different types of companies or brands launch an app, it never gets used, and that's basically the end of the story. So it's great that you've been able to come in and make such a difference. So yeah, it's really great case study. So really appreciate you sharing that, and hopefully that's inspiration for a lot of people out there.
Yeah, I think we've not done things right. We've made mistakes and tried things, and things haven't worked. And I think that's it's learning from it and taking the insights.
Great. So we're going to do a bit of Q&A now. So Naveen, I think from Facebook's asking, what does CVP stand for? Is that a product element?
It's I mean, I'm sure in a lot of organizations you'll have all these different abbreviations. It's customer value proposition, which is basically a feature.
Right. Got it. And Audrey is asking, which data and metrics did you use to figure out that some features weren't so used and some were some were adding significant value? So I guess so we use Adobe Analytics for our
customer behavior. We did have an element of Google Analytics some time back, but yeah, it's like Google Adobe Analytics. So looking at the tagging, looking at customer behavior around that.
But was that what, like, you know, which specific kind of metrics were you looking at there?
We was looking at active users, session lengths, repeat engagements around that.
With those features?
Yeah, with those features, but also customer feedback on sort of app stores and what we had from in-app around certain things.
And what in your stack for the in-app polling and questions using, was it app-tentive or app? Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, so we use a combination. So we use there's app-tentive with in-app. We've got Airship that we use, and we have our own sort of voice of customer program. So we got a lot from that, which is feedback. The voice of customer is a bit more feedback around sort of stations specifically and experiences on a forecourt. But yeah, the in-app is sort of around app-tentive.
And were you getting good sort of signal from that, the sort of in-app people saying this feature doesn't work, or kind of what, like, you know, was it a good sort of ratio signal to noise, or?
It was.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's the old saying, listen to the customers. I think they were all saying the same kind of thing.
Right. Kind of complaining, oh, this has crashed, or couldn't find this, or.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, a lot of the time, you know a lot of your challenges, and then the customer feedback helps to sort of substantiate that for change and to help prioritization. But yeah, the themes were very common.
Got it. Ian's asking, why haven't you turned this into a SaaS subscription monthly service for petrol? I guess the pricing would probably have to go up and down quite a bit, wouldn't it? If you get a certain amount. Well, I suppose not necessarily if you get X many liters a month. Audrey again is asking that the retention increased by 50%, but didn't happen on one day. So how did you assess that the initiatives you're developing were providing value and had an impact? So how were you working out what was moving the needle here?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, with the new app, we spent 2018 looking at what was and wasn't working in the old app. We looked at all the customer feedback, and we sort of pinned ourselves on the strategy of going towards payments and loyalty at the core. And on the old app, we'd obviously done qualitative research on the app to establish where things weren't working. So when at each stage of developing the new strategy and the new user experience, we went through the same sort of quantitative usability studies. So at each stage of strategy, the sort of prototypes and wireframes of the new app, we had customers in, and so we started to become pretty sure about what we was delivering, to the point that, you know, we become, you know, never 100%, and nothing's ever 100%, but we were pretty sure, because we've got the customer feedback that what we were going to market with was going to work. And then as we started to launch, we started to track, and we started to look at that behavior, and obviously over the course of that 6 months. Now, one of the big drivers for such a huge increase is you know, one, yeah, you've got the right strategy, you've got a good, clean user experience, but it's about the product itself. So with the loyalty program, it shifted from a physical card-based program, where obviously it had a digital card, but there was a low percentage. So it shifted from a physical card to a predominantly mobile-first loyalty program. So we did away with the physical card, although you can still order one if you choose, but we were going mobile first. So it was all about sort of using the app, using the digital card. Of course, you know, you're saving costs with not having a physical card, etc. around that. So we was always going to jump quite high there in the fact that users were going to need to use the app to continue with the loyalty scheme, or they could get that physical. So that's a big contributor there.
Yeah, got it. So it's a sort of interaction between product and the kind of business decisions around that, and also you were showing the marketing support you had at the point of sale as well. It's kind of really integrating,
Yeah, that's
not
right.
just kind of messing around in the app doing kind of UX, UI optimizations or product stuff. It's a kind of holistic story of
That's
yeah.
right. It's that whole customer experience
Mm,
of the loyalty program on the forecourt, how it's promoted,
mm.
and through the digital channels, the app.
A couple of people asking, I wondered this as well. What visualization tool was that? Was it Adobe or
The visualization tool was Domo.
Domo?
Yeah,
Okay, there you go, Domo, DOMO.
that's right. Yeah,
Right.
DOMO.
And Nick Duddy, hello Nick, is asking, what was the pace of your optimization cycles, daily, weekly, or monthly?
So we work in sprints,
Right.
and they're sort of 2 weekly sprints with a 4 weekly release.
Audrey's asking, did you do any correlation analysis to figure out which users' behavior was driving better engagement?
You mean like A/B testing?
I think she's referring to correlation, kind of data and kind of mapping. What's actually driving the change out of all the different bits of data you've got. Maybe the answer is no then. Did the use of other app features like the one with the garage increase after you revamped the app? Dobramir is asking. Did these? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we had to make some decisions, and although we realised things like the garage did add value despite it being hidden in the customer experience, we've got a focus at the moment on the core product, so we don't have that garage feature as it stands.
And Carmen's asking a good question. Was there any personalization, within the app, or is it sort of same experience for everyone as they come in?
There's personalization within the loyalty area, so
Right.
it's in each market is different in terms of some of the features they've got. See, not all markets have got the payments element, but sort of once you're into the loyalty, that's where personalization comes in, with the different offers, rewards that are available.
Right. And what about single custom? If so, this is a good question. So do you have a single customer view of the customer interaction across all platforms? If you do, how do you instrument that? Do you use any tool? It might be quite hard if you're coming in at a tail, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's the silver bullet, if you want, for perfection. That's where we're trying to get to, that single customer view. Yeah, but yeah, we're not quite there yet.
The
it's a
physical
big thing, particularly with an organization the size of Shell. You've got retail, you've got B2B, you've got sort of marine aviation, and then all the upstream. Getting a single view there is quite big.
Sophia was asking about focus groups. Maybe she missed the bit where you said, yeah, you did do some focus groups, and I quite like that. Yes, combination of the data plus the qualitative stuff. Was that in terms of recruiting that? Did you have to go? You did that through the sort of voice of the customer panel, and what got them all in a room in somewhere central, or did
we got we've got partners that we work with,
like an agency put them in a right?
Yeah, for example,
Right.
foolproof.
And what they were picking, sort of, heavy, moderate, and non-users of the app, or
yeah, varied. So
right.
so some of the criteria would be app users already. Others would be non-digital, Shell loyalty customers, non-Shell loyalty. So we went across a variety of segmentation.
I mean, how key do you think that bit of the analysis was? Did it just really confirm, your hypothesis and what the data was telling you, or did you get a real, step change in your insight from seeing someone grappling with the app? And
Oh, it's
Right.
crucial. I mean, it's so critical and insightful. I mean, it's hand in hand. You know, things like Adobe will tell you how people are interacting and behaving with the app, but you know, seeing how someone actually uses the app and interacts with that, you know, a real customer, um, you know, is second to none. I mean, they're you know, it's absolutely crucial, and it was important that we did that to back up what we were seeing with the data on the old app of what was and wasn't working. But more crucial is going forwards that everything we do, everything we develop, that we put under that lens of customer feedback. Yeah, because that way you know you're doing things for the right reasons.
And Naveen from Facebook's asking, what made you choose 90-day retention as the metric? You know, especially as you know, you think frequency would be a bit higher than that with a petrol app.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just something we've had as a KPI, and I know sort of it's used across other organisations as a KPI. I mean, of course, you know, we're doing deeper insights into how regularly our customers are using the app and visiting. But yeah, you know, we have a sort of about 4 key KPIs, and that was a good gauge, particularly as it's one we sort of always used sort of with the older app. But
And someone's asking, which channels did you invest in the most to promote the app? Which was the most successful, delivered better performance? You mentioned the sort of different on forecourt stuff. What else were you doing to promote it?
yeah, so you know, it was a wide range really, and if you think in different countries, different areas, obviously we had the forecourt activity. You know, we've got, you know, your digital displays, you know, sort of Facebook, Google, um, and then more traditional with you know, we do quite a lot of radio in the UK.
Right. And anything sort of app-based, like App Store marketing, or
Well, a little bit on the App Store in terms of
right,
rankings.
right, some ASO and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Um,
a lot of the ASO is organic. We haven't done
right.
a lot.
But sort of optimizing the listing and yeah. Audrey, I don't think we've answered her question because she's saying basically what I'm asking is you implemented a lot of functionality, removed some out of date stuff. So how did you differentiate the features that were adding value and the ones that weren't? Because if you're chucking in a load of features a package, it's hard to know which ones work and which don't.
Yeah, well, that's what we. I mean, obviously, it's true. And I think what we said about the My Garage there, you know, we did
Mm,
actually, we knew from, we knew that it, from the
mm,
data and the behavior, it had low usage, but we knew from our customer insights, it actually, you know, had a lot of appetite with our
mm,
customers. So, you know, with those two combined, you know, we managed to establish where the value was. Now, you know, as I say, we've gone down to sort of two core features with payments and loyalty, and you know, station locator is a given bread and butter where you can find us. Of course, there are other features that can add value, but yeah, you know, we have to, whatever we do, we need to make sure we've got the capacity that we can market and then continually to optimize and improve. Whereas one of the holes we went down previously was we didn't do that. We didn't do that continuous optimization.
Ian's following up on his subscription thing. He said, why haven't you considered subscription element? Maybe there you go. That's something to look
One,
at. He's desperate to pay a subscription for his app, so that's something new for your roadmap.
one for the
And
product
Nav
development.
Nav is also saying segment is apparently good for the single customer view. Bring all your data sources together. And did you use NPS at all? It was another sort of measure, net
We
promoter score.
No, we didn't use NPS
Right,
in this.
right. And and one final question. Did you work in a dual track manager, so discovery and delivery combined in the same team? Okay,
Yeah,
so right. So it was kind of people doing
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we had product teams, if you like,
Yeah.
that all the discovery, user experience, and data analytics kind of
Great.
across teams.
Great. Okay, so well, thanks a lot, Darren. Really appreciate you coming on board today and giving that talk. We had a lot of good feedback. Great talk. Thanks, Darren. Really interesting presentation. Great presentation. Thanks, Darren. Thanks. Great insights. So yeah, really appreciate you taking part, and glad we could make it happen. And hopefully, we can bring you back again maybe next year for a follow-up in the real world in London. And yeah, thanks again. So next up, we've got some, you mentioned Google Play, actually, Darren, that you increased the rating from 3.5 to 4.5%. We've actually got our next workshop up is going to be from the App Tweak guys, and they're talking about ASO on Google Play. So specifically focusing on your App Store marketing on the Play Store. So that should be good. And we've also got another app engagement talk, talk about app user experience, app engagement at 2 from Lean Plum. So a couple more things going on. We also have a chat room, which I've sent people a message about. I'll maybe post that up later for people who want to network during the talks. Maybe I'll post that up in a minute, so keep a lookout for that. But thanks again to Darren, and see you all at 12:30 for the next talk.
Thank you.